Hello, you're watching the Media Dialogues, where we get your top-line view of business. Now, it's not a surprise that lockdown has been picked as the word of the year 2020. After all, it was a year when humankind was forced indoors. With the home taking on a special significance this year, for many, it's led to a reassessment of this intimate space. For one of India's leading brands and the industry market leader, this was a unique opportunity. After seeing revenues drop by over 30% in the first 3 months after the lockdown was announced, Asian Paints has recovered to have higher second quarter revenues than it had had the previous year. It has expanded its portfolio, launching home decor, furniture and lighting products, and has deployed advertising effectively to consolidate the brand and trigger sales. The company's managing director and CEO, Amit Syngle, is here to share how the COVID-19 crisis has been a chance to improve performance across all parameters. Amit, it's good to have you join us. Thank you very much for making time.
Great, Anuradha. It's good to speak to you, and I think I'm looking for an exciting conversation.
You've had a frenetic last couple of months, actually ever since April. Do you want to start by telling us what the festive season that we've just closed has been like in terms of consumer demand and therefore your revenues?
We've been speaking of unprecedented times, and we have been talking of this new normal in terms of the way it is there. What we saw as you just said, the second quarter has been something which has been really redeeming for us. And what we saw is that demand really galloped for us, especially in the months of August and September. And I think the whole second quarter, we delivered a double-digit volume growth, which was literally unprecedented, in these times,
Yes.
as we kind of see it. And the great part is that this kind of demand rally actually continued in the month of October as well, and we saw that a lot of places, especially when we look at the T2, T3, and T4 cities, they literally reported that they've not seen a demand like this, which they are seeing in the market at present. And I think to that extent, I think the demand rally continued well into the October. And that's something which has been really heartening for us.
We are mid-November as we speak. We are headed to closing out this year. Do you see this momentum now starting to wane as we start closing out the year?
There was a bit of a pent-up demand in terms of people not really kind of decorating their homes and not really painting their homes, which kind of converged in the second quarter in October.
Yes.
We also saw a prolonged marriage season which came in. And I think that is also something which highlighted, the overall growth which came in. However, we see that, there is still optimism which is continuing in the market, while it might not be as frenzical in terms of, what we see in October. But we see that there is positivity because of one, people see that there would be a good agrarian output which would come in given the monsoons
Yes.
have been good. And therefore, the tier 3, tier 4 cities seem to be still kind of being bullish in terms of the demand, in terms of what we see. I think the only thing which is coming in the way is that people are only kind of seeing that we should not have a second peak happening with respect to the COVID.
Are you worried about what you're hearing in Delhi these days? In the last couple of weeks, the numbers peaking in Delhi, more testing happening, random testing happening. Are you worried about Delhi, and how closely are you watching the north, therefore?
Yes, I think we're worried not only about Delhi, but there are spurts which are happening at various places across the country. And what we see is that these spurts are not only limited to metros. There are some spurts which are happening in tier 1 cities as well. And that is something which is really worrying, because we feel that there is a little bit of, whole fear factor has kind of gone off. And people have now taken the fact that since the number of cases have come down and the recovery rates are high, the mortality rates are absolutely low, there's an indication of a vaccine which is coming in.
Yeah.
I think there is a little bit of a carelessness which has kind of seeped in, where
Right.
people are kind of taking things for granted. And I think that's something which is a worry in our mind, because the only solution, if there is a peak which happens, would be a lockdown. Okay, and that is something which is would not do very well for the economy. But having said that, we are still seeing that there is a good positivity in the market, and markets seem to be still showing signs of optimism as of now.
The interesting thing for me is the kind of focus that the home and our home surroundings took, right? And this is the space that in your brand communication across board where Asian Paints is concerned, going back almost a decade, you have focused as pivotal to your offering, to your products and services.
I think when we transition into homes with Har Ghar Kuch Kehta Hai, and various initiatives, we had a whole series called Where the Heart Is, which is talking about how people own up their homes and feel proud about where they stay, and how their personality is a reflection of where they kind of stay. What we saw is that the early trends which came in with the people who were working from home, people were really kind of caged within their homes to that extent. And whatever little socializing which was happening, which started to happen post-August, September kind of a thing, it was the home which became the epicenter of everything. So we've really seen then the whole relationship of the people with homes change in a very, very big way.
Yes.
What we are now seeing is the multifunctionality of spaces which is emerging within the home.
Yes.
Because today people have bedrooms converted into their offices, and they have their studies converted into playrooms. So, and therefore there is a lot of multifunctionality of spaces which is coming in, which kind of gives us more opportunity to kind of really talk of different kinds of decor. So I think net what we would say is that this whole area of connectedness with the home has gone to a very, very different paradigm. And we think it's a very strong thing for the brand, because we've been speaking about
exactly,
and Asian Paints in a very strong way for the last almost 2 decades now.
In the immediate aftermath of the lockdown, or in the immediate aftermath of COVID-19 hitting our lives, you all released these digital films which took this concept of Har Ghar Chupchap Se Ye Kehta Hai, Kisme Isme Kaun Rehta Hai, and you sort of adapted that to Acha Lagta Hai Jab Sab Koi Andar Rehta Hai. Tell me, at that time when you released these films, and in that first quarter, or April, May, June, when people were so shocked and this disruption shocked everybody, what was it like? Why did you feel the need to communicate, given that there would not have been sales really, or people would not have been inclined to undertake anything that involves opening up their house to outsiders, in this case painters?
Yeah, you're very right, Anuradha. In fact, I remember, 20th of March, when the lockdown really happened for us. I think the words everyone was talking of was preserve, protect, procrastinate kind of zone.
Yeah.
And even I think the boards were talking of saving, survival, and everything about how to guide your stakeholders. Okay. But I think that point of time, the sheer fact that we felt that given the fact that people are relegated to their homes, we actually shot a film which was done in precisely 2 days across about 20 homes through the media of only mobile phones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we not only did one film, we did 2 films at that point of time, which actually shot across the views in the social media in a big way. And I think the whole brand tonality index really went up to more than 99%. Okay, we just showed in terms of what people were really, wanting to kind of get into, and this brought in a lot of cheer for the brand to come in.
Right.
But I think we stopped at that, Anuradha, and we looked at many things which we could kind of do in terms of really causing this connect. I think the first and foremost thing which we did was that we started basically thinking that, as a responsible and a caring brand, okay, not only we are looking at our consumers, but we are looking at the entire ecosystem. So whether it is the government, whether it is the retailers, whether it is the painting community, we looked at everything in a very strong way in terms of how we could kind of add overall in terms of being a responsible and caring brand.
You just mentioned, when at the board level, the larger picture is about cost saving, synergies, rationalization. Do you still invest in marketing and advertising, or do you hold on and that becomes a big cost saving? I want to get your perspective in on that.
I feel very strongly, and this is a very strong opinion which I have been holding for some time, is that marketing is not like an on and off switch. You
Yeah.
know, you can't switch it off whenever you want and say, I will come back to it and revisit and connect with my consumers when I'm doing well. Okay. Today, I think the consumers are very, very perceptive in terms of seeing, you know, how they really connect with the brand, how they stay loyal to the brand in a very, very strong way. And I think that as a brand and as a leader, I've always kind of perpetuated the fact that marketing, advertising, and connect with the consumer has to stay. Your ways and means of doing it, so you might not get onto above the line and blare yourself and empty your pockets in a very big way. But today, I think the digital media offers you a very very strong foray in terms of what you can do. And I think this whole time was basically an opportunity because the kind of eyeballs which you got onto the digital was
Yes.
not funny at
Yeah.
this point of time.
Yeah.
So I am a very, very clear believer of the fact that marketing, advertising has to continue. It is not something which you can procrastinate, which you can say that I will come back when there are happy days, which is with this, because I think the connect with the customers is always required in whatever way you can do it, because I think customers today are very sensitive and they can latch on to other avenues in terms of what really happens, and they would like to be part of that
Right.
community as you kind of go forward.
Tier 3, Tier 4 that is firing, what are their needs when it comes to the home, and do you see different behavior and needs when it comes to the socioeconomic differences of your customers?
What we saw was that the whole T3, T4 kind of towns were really kind of batting very well, and therefore we looked at taking the demand in a very, very strong way and looked at ways and means in terms of what we could have done there. We saw exteriors as a very big opportunity which came in some of the cities, because initially there was an apprehension in terms of getting a group of painters inside your house and really kind of painting your homes and so on and so forth. And in T3, T4, the advantage is that you have larger single dwelling homes,
Yes.
bungalows, and so on and
Yes.
so forth, which comes in. And I think that gave us a very, very strong shift with respect to a lot of people wanted to say that their exteriors need to look good and their exteriors should almost like a landmark in that area. So I think that gave us a very big fillip in terms of an understanding which we queued in, because today in metros, largely where you have lots of high rises,
Yeah.
okay, you don't get a chance for exterior so much as you get in chances in terms of the T2, T3 and T4 cities to that extent. So that's one understanding which came in. The other fact that we also launched this whole area of the safe painting.
Yes.
And we told people that, you get the whole area of fear out of your minds. And we are offering you something which the brand will really guard you with respect to safety. And I think that really clicked for us. And as a trend, what we saw was that people started appropriating decor in their homes, even in the cities which T3, T4 cities, because we felt that the element of pride, the element of owning a home and really decorating that home, I think is an element which is the emotion is the same across. I see today that given the literally the invasion of technology, today I think T3, T4, T2 cities are today knowing what are the trends which are happening across.
Interesting.
And they're not very
Yeah.
far away
Yeah.
in terms of saying that they would like to appropriate the latest.
Right.
And it is not that they are following the game. I think to some extent we also see that they are side by side and sometimes they're leading the game.
Your portfolio has expanded over the last few years to offer painting services. I can see some beautiful wallpaper behind you, Amit. So wallpaper, painting services, interior design services. And in the middle of this lockdown, you also announced that you all were getting into home decor products. So furniture, furnishing, lighting. How are you making this transition from being a pure product company to a services company? Because the expectations that customers will have from you will really change as a result of this, isn't it?
Yes, I think that's a big transition, and it's an intentional transition in terms of what we are making, because as we see towards future, at-home services will have a very, very big premium. And today we have seen during COVID times also that customers are really looking at embracing e-com and services which are at home to that extent, because today I think there are a lot of anxieties are coming when you step out of your home. Now, given this fact, we started our safe painting service as I spoke of. We also started a service called Sanishore, which is a health and hygiene service where we kind of really come and
Disinfect,
sanitize
yeah,
your
yeah.
place and give you a mental satisfaction that the place you are living in is free of viruses and so on and so forth. Therefore, I think we wanted to be very strongly entrenched in the home space, and this whole area of home decor has been very close to us.
You did kitchen and bath, the bath line maybe a couple of years ago. Is that really firing for you? Because based on that experience will hinge whatever you've launched now, isn't it, in home decor?
We know the home customer very, very well, and therefore we wanted to move away from the share of surface to a share of space within the home in a very strong way. As you rightly said, there are some years back we forayed into bath and kitchen because those were two spaces which were growing the fastest as far as the homes are concerned, whether it is renovation or whether it is new construction.
Right.
Okay. But what we did this year is that given the fact that we had this vision that we wanted to be, in the inspiration and exciting space for home decor, and we wanted a share of space, we have actually launched a range which is there in furnishing, furniture, lighting. In fact, we have a concept called Beautiful Homes. Okay, and this comes in two parts. One is the beautifulhomes.com, where people get into an inspirational space which satisfies them in terms of whatever they want with respect to their home. They will get possibly the best advice and the best inspiration going through it. But people only not live through advice and inspiration. They also need foot and legs in terms of saying how will this come into my place and how can I execute this. And therefore we today have opened a range of stores. We have now more than 15 stores across the country which are called the Beautiful Home Stores. And these stores are one-stop shops which offer today a full solution about decorating your home.
What is the share of revenues going forward that these areas will have in your business? Because this is the future, right? You're getting ready for the future, a future that has got accelerated because of COVID-19.
So, as I see it, currently the share is obviously very, very small. It's, less than, it's in a single digit kind of a percentage in terms of how I see it.
Sure.
Okay. But the fact is that if we are stepping our strategy into this area, if we are looking at in terms of owning the share of space, it would require an acceleration, and that is why the whole area of launches and other things which we have done, because we felt that COVID is something which cannot put our aspirations
on
to a
hold.
stop.
Yeah.
And we really ventured into this space even at this point of time, and we are opening stores even now. Paint itself as a category, I think it will continue to grow in terms of in a very, very strong rate to that extent. But so long as in the absolute terms, it is a sizable business, where we are able to kind of talk of a number which is strong in terms of getting into this category, I think that fulfills our ambition in terms of getting it, because you must remember that this category is dominated a lot by the unorganized brands today.
Absolutely, yeah.
And therefore, we need to be very clear that we need to be an aspirational brand in this category rather than a very, very big volume brand which is looking at tons of furniture and tons of lighting getting into homes to that extent, because we would like to look at a full home kind of an ownership in a very, very strong manner.
I'm going to make it a little personal, Amit. You took over as CEO and Managing Director in April this year. What a time to get into that role. What would you say are the lessons or learnings that you've had, given that you took this role on at a time that COVID-19 hit the world?
See, first of all, I think something which was really engaging and got the adrenaline within me was that there was no rule book in terms of operating during these times.
Yeah.
Okay, one operated with the fact that there was a certain gut, there was a certain feeling, there was a certain kind of ownership towards all the stakeholders. And that is how you operated. And that is something which was really very, very exciting, because you literally did not have to follow anyone to that extent, and you did what you wanted to kind of do strongly.
Right.
I also felt that the whole thing of invoking another aspect of the leadership came in very, very strongly, because what you invoked at this point of time was that you wanted to be a responsible and a caring brand. Okay, you wanted to be empathetic. And at the same time, you wanted to be affiliative. Okay, so I think there were different aspects of leadership which one brought into the entire strategy in a very, very strong way. And I think one of the big parts which I focused was really kind of ensuring that all the people, okay, all the stakeholders who stay with Asian Paints stay connected in a very, very strong manner. And I think at a time in April when people were talking of so much of uncertainty of employment, salary cuts, we were the only brand who kind of really went up and raised the salaries for people. Okay, because I felt that this was the time when you need to kind of really connect with your employees. You need to keep them, together, because of so much of uncertainty happening on the professional and the home front. And therefore, I think it helped us in terms of staying connected with our people so that they all stay together and we are able to kind of give them a larger ambition to look at from where the brand is kind of going. I think the other last point which I felt very strongly was this whole area of invoking something which is a transformative leadership, which kind of combines a lot of innovation. So whether it is the entry into sanitizers and the health category in a very, very strong way, or it was the coatings which are anti-virus coatings which we introduced, or it was the entry into the DIY zone on e-com for getting on to our customers, or the home decor forays. I think we were as a brand really very, very strongly motivated that we are looking at a certain certainty in this uncertainty which is kind of going on. And I think that is the future which I believed one created, which one is fairly proud of.
The stock market has been watching Asian Paints very closely and they seem to like what they see. One question that they've been asking is, given the kind of margin improvement, do you see prices drop?
I don't think so. At the moment, we are looking at any drop in prices, because what we are also seeing mixed trends with respect to the prices, the way they are kind of going. With demand improving, we see that oil derivatives are kind of moving up, and there is a lot of imports which are becoming far more expensive. We also see rupee kind of losing a little bit of a steam, and I think all that really impacts in terms of the overall cost in terms of coming in. But I think we are watching the situation in case there are things which are happening which gives us a slightly more insight into a larger future. I think we will take decisions accordingly, but as of now, immediately we're not looking any price drops.
Thank you, Amit, for that very lucid take on the strategy driving Asian Paints and for being so accommodating with all the questions. I wish you and the entire team at Asian Paints a great deal of good luck. I've been an admirer of all the brand communication you've done over the years, and I look forward to seeing more. Thank you very much for talking to us.
Thank you. I think great talking to you, and take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much for watching. We'll be back again with another deep dive next week. So do stay tuned to CNBC TV 18 in the meantime.